Welcome to the Do Good X podcast, a sanctuary from the entrepreneurial grind. Hosts Kimberly Danielle and Stephen Lewis, advocates for impactful entrepreneurship, guide you on the path where purpose meets business. Join us to slow down, reconnect, and explore the challenges of under-resourced entrepreneurs, uncovering the unique journey of building businesses that make a difference. Now, your host.
Welcome, everyone, to the Do Good X podcast. I am Kimberly Danielle, and I am a community builder, coach, and communication strategist who comes from generations of faith-driven leaders and entrepreneurs who believe that our purpose should drive us to contribute to the common good. And here we are, another episode in, Stephen.
Hey, Kimberly, it's good to be with you. As you know, I am a catalyst for positive change in communities and businesses, and for over 2 decades, I've inspired leaders and entrepreneurs to live and work on purpose with intention, faith, and a commitment to their well-being. As we start the new year, many founders feel the pressure to hit the ground running. But we want to invite you into a different rhythm, one where you will move with intention. And intention often requires slowing down, reflecting, and sometimes even reset. So today, we want to reintroduce an episode with someone who models this. Jay Johnson is the CEO and co-founder of Prep Intel and the founder of College Prep U. He is a go-getter, but he also understands what it means to build at a pace shaped by faith and guided by clarity. And the story reminds us of the importance of listening for direction for our next steps.
Yeah, Stephen, I really enjoyed this episode with Jay, and this was early on in our first season. For those of you who are listening in, if you are entering into this year really discerning your next step or even a leap, Jay's story might inspire you and speak to you. He took risks for his business, but they were really grounded and thoughtful and faith-led. So maybe you might be in this moment pausing to ask, what am I called to do in this year in my business? And where am I being invited to rest, reflect, or even reassess before moving forward?
Yeah, Jay is a dynamic and an inspirational leader, and I think you're going to be excited about what he has to offer. The growth of Jay's business, it wasn't rushed. I mean, the scaling of his business unfolded over time, and he was prayerful. He was intentional, but he was also willing to take risks.
So really get comfortable and just let Jay's story remind you that the most meaningful growth, whether it is in your life, not just your business, but your life or your business, it often begins with slowing down and just paying attention and allowing that to guide you forward. So enjoy this episode. College Prep U was ignited by helping someone in the church you attended. I don't know if it was the church you attended at the time or you continue to attend now, but I want to hear a little bit about what began your entrepreneurial journey and what was your faith community's role in that?
So in church, people knew that I worked at a college and they knew I knew admissions. And so one family came up and they were like, well, hey, we got a daughter that is brilliant. She's a student athlete, and we're trying to decide which school to go to, and then how can we leverage scholarships. And most importantly, we don't want the bulk of her scholarships coming from the GI Bill, which her dad was a veteran, as well as athletics. She has the academics to get a academic scholarship that should cover everything. We just need to source through and know the lingo. And so they just happened to look at a school that's local to Alabama, an HBCU. And I said, oh, well, I know the director of admissions over there. So I was like, but I know their requirements and their policies. I was like, do you know you could appeal their scholarships? And she was like, what does that mean? I was like, well, if you're not happy with the academic scholarship, you literally can say, hey, I want to challenge it and want to know if there's more money for me to get. And she ended up getting a full academic ride. So then she played basketball, and it was a choice and not a requirement. And so the mom was like, yo, you should start a company doing this. And so I was in church and I was like, man, let me really just think about it. And the pastor at the time was doing these series on just like taking risk. And I was like, yo, I'm all about risk. And so I was like, well, let me do my due diligence. And it was funny because I thought about joining it was a franchise. They had a franchise that did college admission advising, and so I went to go look at this franchise, and I was like, man, this could be cool. But I'm looking at all the barriers that this franchise put around. I'm looking at the profit margins. I'm looking at the other franchisee owners, and I'm looking at the owner of the franchise, and I was like, it just doesn't make sense. It's not adding up. Like they say, the math ain't math. And so I was like, yeah, no. So I prayed. I was like, it was crazy because it happened July 2017 during the solar eclipse. So literally I was driving to this city to go view this place this business, and the eclipse was happening. And I was like, man, when I got there, I saw the sun, get blacked out, got dark, and then the light came on. So I kind of took that metaphorically. Like in my mind, I didn't really know how to put a company like this together. So it was dark. I got there. Actually, it was light because the idea. I got there, saw how he had it. It was cool, but I didn't like the feeling. So to me, that was darkness. And then when I left and I was coming back, I was like, man, I can do this on my own. And then that's when I felt like the light came back out to me. And I was like, I'm going to start up College Prep U. And so literally off of a consultation and a client in church, the word saying taking risk, as well as just, using, God's beautiful creation of just like the eclipse, solar eclipse, as a way to kind of help me see what I know I can do, and I don't need anyone else to put a barrier on me. Help me start College Prep U.
When we first talked early last year, which was in the first year, you had 37 students for College Prep U. And then in the second year, that increased to 2,500. Yes, you all heard me right. 2,500, 37 to 2,500. That's a significant increase just in 1 year. So was that growth unexpected, or did you take specific steps to make this happen intentionally?
Yeah, no, it was completely unexpected. I think that when I built College Prep U, I literally built it for like your middle class to upper middle class families because of my price point. Like College Prep U is a for-profit. It is not a nonprofit, So with that being said, I have fees, I have things I needed to charge. And I knew in my heart of heart, because of the fact that, I am a capitalist wrapped in a socialist blanket, that I wanted to be able to serve, those who are moderate to low income. I just needed to figure out how. And so, but I needed to pay bills in order for the company to grow. And so the 37 clients that I had came really because of the fact that I just was doing good business. It just so happened that one of my Morehouse brothers, who's also my attorney, connected me to a guy here in Birmingham, and he had a company that was similar. He had a nonprofit version of me. And so I was like, man, okay, I already knew who he was. I knew what his company was because I did my due diligence when I was, looking at the market to see, how feasible opening up my company would be. And I was like, man, why are you tying me to this dude? Now, he knows I'm here, and now he knows who I am. But I've been watching him for like 6 months. And so watching him in his company. And so I reached out to the guy and I was like, yo, let's connect. He came by my office the same day and he saw like my setup. He saw my hunger. He saw my grit. But most importantly, he saw that I had a full curriculum that he had access to, and his curriculum was stagnant. And so he was like, well, hey, I have an opportunity if you like, how much would it cost if you could help me, with this contract that I have? And so for me, he's my competitor, but I believe in collaboration. Like, you can collaborate with a competitor. And the best, I guess, analogy I can give is like, I have a MacBook with Microsoft Office on it, right? And so, at the end of the day, like, yes, we're competitors, but we can operate in the same space. There's plenty of kids. We're serving the same mission. So I was like, this is what I need. And he was like, all right, cool, we can do that. He was like, can you serve 1,100 students? And I was like, yeah, I can do that. We can figure it out. I got a curriculum. And so he was like, well, I need you to meet these individuals. And they were like executive directors of, some organizations that actually fund him. And they work within the school district. It was Gear Up Birmingham. So the Gear Up is a nationwide organization that helps kids get prepared for college. They track a cohort of students from 6th and 7th grade all the way to their first year of college. So they hire partners to help them with their metrics, to help them get along the way. In their grant, they have to hire partners. He was one of their partners. I didn't even know anything about Gear Up. So I had to meet up with these individuals, and one of the individuals came to me and they was like, Jay, look, we breaking bread, like, and she was like, I see your setup. I love the food. I like your passion. What are you doing for you and your company? And I was like, well, what do you mean? Like, I'm, doing what I can. And she was like, yeah, no, like, why don't you apply for us? And I was like, well, I felt conflicted because I was like, man, I don't want to, cut this guy out. And he just invited me to the table, and you're the reason why you're in my office. He's the reason why you're in my office. And she was like, yeah, no, he ain't the reason. She was like, it's someone that's the reason, but he ain't it. And so it just so happened that her CFO is one of my church members. And he was like, yo, you got to meet up with Jay. She was like, I wasn't even going to meet up with you because you work with this guy. She was like, but your one of your friends and your church member is my CFO. And he was like, you got to meet up with Jay. He got a great program he building, and go see it for yourself. So she was like, yo, can you scale your program to meet up with over 2,000 students? And I was like, yes, I can. I can do it. No problem. And so she was like, all right, we'll draw a plan out. I put up a plan. I was able to hire people, and that's how we scaled from 37 to 2,500. And we've been overseeing. So that program lasted for another 2 to 3 years before their grant ran out. But we stayed on as the College of Readiness consultants for Birmingham City School District. And we've been doing that for the last 5.5, 6 years. And my company only been open 7.
So I'm curious what challenges and also what opportunities did you experience in scaling and growing your business this fast?
One of the biggest challenges that I had was really just being okay with being uncomfortable, and really knowing that, God put this opportunity in front of me, and I did everything right in his house first within my heart. It wasn't what I put into the offering. It wasn't me going to church. It was like, yo, I really am building this business because I want to be impactful. I need you to help me. I built this business in your house. Now your house, all I'm doing is spreading it out. And so spreading your word. And so literally, I didn't even have any fear after that point because I saw an organization that would believe in me. It allowed me to take that money and offer opportunities to other individuals to hire the right staff that want to come in and do what they need to do. And then, I had enough sense to know that I didn't do this on my own. So it kept me very grounded, in a sense, because I didn't think, oh, I'm Jay, I got this on my own. No, I knew exactly where to start. And if it wasn't for that person in church, if it wasn't for, the first family I worked with in church, if it wasn't for that word about taking risk, if it wasn't for that seed, but then if it wasn't me being a good person to where someone else in my church recognized what I was doing, the opportunity wouldn't even happen.
I want to talk a little bit about when you shifted from college prep you to the launch of the second business, Prep Intel, and this new door that opened for you. What led you to the launch of your second business, Prep Intel?
It's funny because it happened in church. So I'll never forget, it was we were doing watch hour service, and in watch hour service, the pastor was like, look to your neighbor left and right and just say, I don't know what you got going, but something's finna happen. And so a lady who I didn't know said that to me, and she hugged me. She said, I feel like you run a business, and I feel like it's about to grow beyond your control, but you can't do it. She was like, you can't be there. I don't know who you are, what you do, but you can't be there. You got to figure something out. And what you think you should do is going to be the exact opposite. And I was like, all right, well, cool. Well, I'll take that. And I had a conversation with a friend who's in tech. And he was like, yo, you ever thought about, making your company virtual? And I was like, oh, well, we got to get online presence. We got Zoom. We got all these different things. Like, I'm already a tech company. He was like, no. Being able to deliver something that, you don't have to necessarily be there for. And I was like, someone just said that to me. So then I thought about it. I was like, if I walk out and got hit by a truck, College Prep U is closed. Anything happened to me, if I have a heart attack, anything, College Prep U closed. So then what can I do to like scale this and not have to always be in the day to day. So I talked to my staff, and it was like, well, Jay, you know, we're good because you're good, but we rely so heavily on you. But if we had a system that knew how you thought, or at least knew how to find the resources that you could outside of Google, that would be beneficial to all of us, and that can cut our training time down. I was like, man, that's right. And so I talked to a good buddy of mine who's a professor at Clemson, and he was like, yeah, man, you could do something like machine learning. And I was like, well, what's machine learning? He was like, you can teach a machine to think like you. I realized that Prep and Tell was something completely different, and I needed to break away from what people automatically associated me with or asked with College Prep U. But then at the end of but also I need to make sure that it was a clear understanding that it's going to be in the same arena. And so my mentality came like, I'm building a tech company in a crock pot and not a microwave. So I took my time. I did many accelerators, and I set a goal for what I wanted to do. And every accelerator that I got, if I got some cash from them, I sold it and prayed for the next one, and just was really responsible about what I did. And then Prep and Tell came, and it was crazy because it was completely different than what I used to. College Prep U helps students navigate the college admission process. Prep and Tell is a platform that helps streamline the post-secondary recruitment process for recruiters. So now I'm on the other side of the match. I now work with the colleges and charge them and take my program that I'm building and make it free to students.
For those of you who are listening, if this conversation with Jay is sparking some deeper reflection or rethinking about how you are moving in your business, make sure you keep on staying tuned, but also visit dogoodx.org, because you can subscribe to our email, keep posted on resources and tips like what Jay is sharing from other folks, and join our Do Good X LinkedIn community, where we share resources, and we provide a community for entrepreneurs and change makers. How much of your success do you attribute to your faith versus your own grit, will, and hustle?
Yeah, like I think my grit and will came from my faith. It all runs together. It's not separate. Like I'm not in a like, it was so funny. Someone asked me, because we do March Madness just in, and that's our jam. Someone just asked me, like, was I going for Angel Reese or Caitlin Clark, and I was like, both. I like both. So like, as a true person who loves sports and competition, I like both. So I'm not in a and or. It's and in both. Like I can have both. So I like Prince and Michael Jackson. I like LeBron James and Kobe Bryant. So it doesn't matter to me. I don't have to choose. So my grit and my faith are one and the same.
Well, thank you so much, Jay, for taking the time among all of the spaces and places you're in that are vying for your attention. I appreciate you taking the time to chat with me today and share your insights. Please keep tuning in, and I look forward to you joining us in future episodes. Until then, do good.
Thank you for listening to the Do Good X podcast. To continue the conversation or access our resources, visit www.dogoodx.org. Join us again for conversations that will nourish your soul, ignite your dreams, and empower you to build an impactful business, one intentional step at a time. Until then, keep striving, thriving, and doing good.